Have you ever been so exhausted but unable to rest? Your body feels tired, but your mind keeps moving. You lie in bed, but your thoughts keep circling. Maybe your chest feels tight. Maybe your heart suddenly races. Maybe you wake up at 3 in the morning for no obvious reason. And even after sleeping, you still don't feel settled, not truly rested. One of the saddest things I hear in clinic is this: Dr. Amy, I haven't had a good sleep in years, as though the restlessness has quietly become normal. But in traditional Chinese medicine, peace is not just an emotion. Peace is a sign of health. And today we are going to explore that organ system that protects that inner peace, the heart. Healing is like tending a garden, and in every video, we water the roots. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Amy, and today's wisdom comes from the heart of traditional Chinese medicine. In our previous Wu Zang episodes, we explored the kidneys, the roots, the liver, the smooth flow of qi, and the spleen, the transformation of fluid and food. Today, we move upward to the heart, the organ that in many ways brings rhythm, awareness, and life to the entire system. If the kidneys are the deep blue ocean, the liver is the flowing river, and the spleen is the fertile earth, then the heart is the sun. The sun doesn't simply shine, it gives warmth, creates rhythm, guides growth, and allows the whole ecosystem beneath it thrive. The heart plays a remarkably similar role inside the body. It supports circulation, it nourishes the blood, it influences sleep, it shapes emotional regulation. And perhaps most importantly in TCM, it houses something called the Shen. Now, this is where traditional Chinese medicine becomes incredibly beautiful, because in modern medicine, the heart is primarily understood as a pump. Its job is to circulate blood throughout the body. And of course, that role is absolutely essential. But TCM asks us to look one layer deeper. The heart is also seen as the home of awareness, of emotional regulation, of restful sleep, of presence. And all of these ideas are beautifully summarized in one classical phrase: 心主神明. The heart governs the Shen. So, what is Shen? Shen is one of those words that's often simply translated as spirit. But I don't think that translation fully captures what it means. A better way to understand the Shen is the ability to feel presence, to feel calm, to think clearly, to respond to life instead of just reacting to it. It's the quiet steadiness that allows you to enjoy a conversation without your mind wandering off. It's being able to close your eyes at night and feel yourself actually settling down. When someone's Shen is balanced, you often notice it immediately. Their eyes look bright, their presence feels grounded, their emotions move naturally. They don't seem rushed by the world around them. But when their Shen becomes disturbed, everything feels more restless. Sleep becomes lighter, thoughts become louder, the mind refuses to slow down. Anxiety becomes easier to trigger. And honestly, I think this is one of the biggest health challenges of modern life. Not because people are weaker, but because modern life constantly scatters the Shen. Think about how many times your attention is interrupted in a day. Notification, phone calls, emails, text messages, social media, news, advertisement, music, videos, conversations, coffee to stay awake, screens before bed. And then we wonder, why is it so difficult to feel calm? Many people tell me, I'm exhausted, but I just can't switch my brain off. And I think that's one of the most important distinctions to understand. Being tired is not the same as being able to rest. A person can be deeply exhausted while their Shen remains completely unsettled. And eventually, that state begins to feel normal. But I don't feel that it should be, because one of the greatest gifts of a healthy heart isn't simply that it keeps us alive, it's that it allows us to experience life with clarity, presence, and peace. One of the things I love most about traditional Chinese medicine is that no organ ever works in isolation. They are constantly communicating. The heart belongs to something we call the upper jiao, the region responsible for circulation, awareness, breathing, and communication between the inside of the body and the outside world. This is why the heart works so closely with the lungs. If the heart is the sun, the lungs are the atmosphere. The heart creates the rhythm. The lungs help distribute it throughout the body. One provides warmth, the other helps that warmth reach to where it needs to go. When these systems work together, we breathe comfortably and feel emotionally steadier. But when this balance is disturbed, people often notice something interesting. Their breathing changes, their chest feels tighter, their sleep becomes lighter, their emotions become more reactive, because when the upper jaw loses harmony, the Shen often loses its sense of calm as well. In traditional Chinese medicine, every organ is an entire system, not simply a body part. The heart is associated with the fire element. Its season is summer. It opens into the tongue. It governs the blood and blood vessels. Its emotion is joy, and it manifests through the complexion of the face. Now, instead of memorizing all of these associations, let's understand why they matter. The heart manifests on the face, so when circulation is healthy, the complexion often looks bright, alive, and expressive. But when someone has been chronically exhausted under prolonged emotional stress, or hasn't truly rested for a long time, you can often see it before they say a single word. The face loses some of its vitality, not because beauty has disappeared, but because the whole system is asking for support. The heart also opens into the tongue. This is one reason why we pay attention to tongue diagnosis during consultation, not just its color, its coating, but how it moves. Because severe stress, poor sleep, or excessive internal heat can sometimes appear there too. People under intense emotional strain may also notice changes in the way they speak. They rush their words, lose their train of thought, or struggles to express themselves clearly. Again, the body is constantly communicating. The question is whether we simply learned how to listen. There's another classical saying that I really love, 汗为心之液. Sweat is the fluid of the heart. Now, this does not mean that the heart is the only organ that controls sweating. Sweating also involves the lungs, body fluids, and many other systems working together. But because sweat comes from body fluids, and those fluids are closely connected with blood in TCM, we pay attention to when sweating becomes abnormal. Normal sweating is healthy. It tells us that the body is regulating well. But if someone sweats excessively, wakes with night sweats, or feel exhausted with just a little perspiration, it tells us that the body may be working a lot harder than it should. And that's worth understanding, not fearing. Now, here's another concept that is often misunderstood. In TCM, the emotion of the heart is joy. But joy doesn't simply mean happiness. It means emotional openness, connection, warmth, the ability to enjoy life without feeling overwhelmed or guarded. Interestingly, both too little joy and too much stimulation can disturb the heart. I think that's especially relevant today. We are constantly chasing stimulation, more notification, more scrolling, more entertainment, more excitement. But the heart doesn't thrive on constant intensity. It thrives on rhythm, because rhythm is what allows the sun to settle. This is also why the heart belongs to the season summer. Summer is warm, summer is bright, it is expansive, full of movement, encourages us to socialize, travel, stay out late. But just as too much heat in nature can be overwhelming, too much stimulation inside the body can cause the same thing. This is why people notice lighter sleep, restlessness, mouth ulcers, irritability, or feeling emotionally wired during periods of excessive internal heat. The system hasn't forgotten how to regulate. It is simply being asked to do more than it comfortably can. So what happens when this system begins to struggle? TCM reminds us there isn't only one reason why someone may feel anxious, struggles to sleep, or experiences palpitations. Two people can have very similar symptoms, yet the underlying pattern may be completely different. This is why TCM doesn't simply ask, "What's your symptom?" It asks, "What is your system trying to tell us?" One of the most common patterns I see is heart blood deficiency. This often develops after long periods of overwork, emotional strain, chronic stress, poor sleep, or prolonged exhaustion. Over time, the body simply doesn't have enough nourishment to anchor the Shen properly. People may experience insomnia, vivid dreams, poor memory, dizziness, anxiety, palpitation, or simply feel emotionally more fragile than they used to be. I often explain it like trying to anchor a boat in shallow water. The anchor itself is not broken. There simply isn't enough depth to hold it steady. The Shen behaves very much in the same way. Another pattern we see today is heart deficiency. Instead of lacking nourishment, the body gradually loses its ability to cool itself and restore itself. People often describe it as being wired and tired. They lie down to sleep, but their mind keeps racing. They may wake during the night, feeling warm, restless, or unable to fall asleep again. To be honest, I think this is becoming one of the defining patterns of modern life. We sleep less, we work more, we rely more on caffeine, we spend a lot more time in front of screens. Eventually, the body keeps moving, but it loses its ability to restore itself. Then we have heart fire. Unlike the previous two patterns, this one is an excess. The system has become overheated. People may develop mouth ulcers, irritability, severe insomnia, agitation, palpitation, dark urine, or feel internally restless all the time. Very often, this follows prolonged emotional stress. The body isn't simply tired anymore, it is overwhelmed. There's one patient I still remember very clearly. She has struggled with insomnia for several years and had started on sleeping medication. During the first consultation, she told me, "I sleep, but it doesn't feel like I slept at all." That sentence stayed with me since then, because unconsciousness is not the same thing as restoration. You can sedate the body, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the Shen has settled. And this is where TCM asks a completely different question. Instead of asking, how do we force someone to sleep? We ask, why has this body lost its ability to settle naturally? Now we need to talk about coffee. Coffee is fascinating from TCM perspective. It has a bitter taste and a warming nature. It stimulates movement, increases alertness, and helps many people feel more awake. For someone who feels slightly sluggish or stagnant, one cup may actually feel supportive. But constitution always matters. If someone already experiences anxiety, palpitation, insomnia, dry mouth, constipation, night sweats, or other signs of indeficiency, then too much coffee can easily add more heat to a system that's already struggling to stay balanced. At that point, coffee is no longer helping the body. It's asking the heart to work even more harder. This is why I don't see coffee as good or bad. I simply ask another question. Is it suitable for your body right now? That, I think, is a much more useful conversation. Exercise is another example. Movement is incredibly important. It supports circulation, emotional health, sleep, and overall well-being. But sometimes people continue pushing themselves even when the body is clearly asking for recovery. Poor sleep, constant stress, too much caffeine, chest tightness, palpitations, persistent exhaustion. And yet they continue to force the intense workouts because they believe that's what being healthy looks like. From a TCM perspective, that is often not the wisest approach. If the heart system is already under strain, adding more physical demand may simply overwhelm it further. When I examine someone's pulse and it suggests that the heart is already depleted, I usually recommend something gentler. Walking, jogging, yoga, movement that supports the body rather than competes with it. Because exercise should build the heart, not exhaust it. And this is one area where TCM and modern medicine agree completely. If you experience chest pain, chest pressure, severe shortness of breath, dizziness, fainting, or unusual palpitations during workout, please stop and seek proper medical assessment. For those are definitely not symptoms to push through. The beautiful thing about the heart is that it responds to the simplest things, not dramatic changes, not complicated routines, but rhythm, consistency, and moments where the body finally feels safe enough to slow down. I think many people feel that they need to do more in order to feel better, but sometimes the less is more. Less stimulation, less rushing, less emotional suppression, less living as though every single day is an emergency. Because the heart thrives on rhythm, and rhythm creates regulation. A lot of the time, healing doesn't begin by adding more things. Sometimes healing begins by removing what has been overwhelming the system all along. If your heart feels under strain, start with the basics. Protect your sleep. Reduce unnecessary stimulation before bed. Try not to scroll aimlessly at night. Notice how much caffeine you are relying on. Create moments of genuine quiet during the day. Allow yourself to experience stillness without feeling guilty about it. Because rest is not laziness. Rest is how the body restores its ability to function. And perhaps most importantly, remember that recovery is not something you earn after becoming exhausted. It is something that should exist throughout life. If you'd like something practical to begin with, there are two beautiful acupressure points that I often recommend. The first is Shen. Its name is literally Spirit Gate. You'll find it on the inner side of your wrist, just beneath the pinky finger, resting in a small hollow beside a tendon. So you can follow the picture. Additionally, this point is used to help calm the Shen, support sleep, and settle the heart. The second point is in Tang. It's right between your eyebrow. People already instinctively massage this area when they're feeling overwhelmed or mentally tired. In traditional Chinese medicine, this point is commonly used to quiet mental activity and encourage a greater sense of calm. You can massage these points for about 1 to 2 minutes in gentle circular motion. And remember, consistency matters more than intensity. If you've been listening to this video and quietly thinking, I haven't truly felt calm in a long time, I want you to know that you are not alone. I think modern life has made many people forget what genuine calm feels like. We've become so accustomed to stimulation that inner quiet may feel unfamiliar. But unfamiliar doesn't mean impossible. The body remembers. Sometimes it just simply needs the right environment to find its rhythm again. Everything we've discussed today is intended to help you understand your body more deeply. It isn't a substitute for individual diagnosis or treatment. Every person has their own pattern, constitution, and history. And that is exactly why traditional Chinese medicine treats the person and not simply the symptoms. The heart does far more than keep us alive. In TCM, it allows us to experience life with presence, to feel connected, to sleep peacefully, to think clearly, to love, to laugh, to experience moments that make life meaningful. Healing is like tending a garden, and sometimes before the entire ecosystem can flourish again, the sun simply needs a chance to shine a little more gently. If this video helped you understand your body a little bit more differently, I would love for you to continue this Wu Zang series with me. Because once we understand the systems, we stop fearing our body and instead begin appreciating how intelligently it has been trying to care for us all along. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Knowing that my videos help people understand the body a little bit more better truly means more than you know. So my darling, I wish you good health, and good health is the ultimate fortune and the only investment with endless return. And when do we start investing? Right now.